controversial speaker.
The idea that pipelines are answers to climate change is absurd.
An anti-pipeline activist gives the keynote at a local teachers conference. The premier fires back.
Here in Alberta, we ride horses, not unicorns.
Live from Edmonton, CTV News with Nicole.
Premier Rachel Notley found herself going toe-to-toe with an anti-pipeline activist today. The Alberta Teachers Association invited a controversial speaker, and Premier Notley's office decided she wanted to offer a rebuttal. CTV's Sarah Plowman has the details.
Climate change and the economy, topics regularly covered in the classrooms by social studies teachers. On Saturday, that discussion moved to a conference stage where an anti-pipeline activist and the premier were the lecturers and the teachers were the students.
The idea that pipelines are answers to climate change is absurd. You don't buy more cigarettes to quit smoking.
We've also capped oil sands emissions, capped them by law. So new pipelines don't mean more greenhouse gases.
The Alberta Teachers Association invited pipeline critic Tzeporah Berman to give the keynote. The environmental activist was the former co-chair of Alberta's Oil Sands Advisory Group and once compared the oil sands to the fictional wasteland of Mordor. Her message on Trans Mountain Pipeline:
This was a bad project that had a bad process. It's being sold as the holy grail to our future prosperity. It's simply not true.
A perspective that Notley, a pipeline proponent, wanted to counter. So her office reached out to the ATA to see if she could take the stage.
Maybe on Salt Spring Island you can build an economy on condos and coffee shops, but not in Edmonton and not anywhere in Alberta. Here in Alberta, we ride horses, not unicorns. And I invite pipeline opponents to saddle up on something that is real.
It was the first time a sitting premier spoke at an ATA event since Premier Lougheed. While the two disagree on pipelines, they do agree tackling climate change has to come by cutting carbon emissions.
I think there's a real opportunity to get in depth and to scratch below the surface on these issues.
Solutions that can be found through dialogue and debate, a conversation both would agree is crucial here and in the classroom. Sarah Plowman, CTV News, Edmonton.
UCP leader Jason Kenney reacted on Twitter, saying the premier had a chance to finally apologize for appointing anti-energy zealot Tzeporah Berman to be her top oil sands advisor. Instead of just admitting a mistake, we heard more of the same excuses. Meanwhile, regulators outlined the next step for the Trans Mountain line today. The National Energy Board revealing more details about its new environmental assessment. The review will consider the impact of more oil tankers on marine life out to 12 nautical miles off the BC coastline. The second assessment was ordered after a federal court threw out the approval for the project in August. The ruling said insufficient consultation had been done to address Indigenous and environmental concerns. One group says the 12-mile review leaves out a number of at-risk whale species.